Well, I'm sure you've had uh, more than enough experience about people talking about staying out of your or staying in your comfort zone. And it's more, I've found that it's more a case of when you go out of other people's comfort zone. That's the comfort zone where they think that you are best suited. It's got nothing to do with fact, nothing to do with what you feel or plan or intend or your goals or your talent. It's where they are comfortable to see you be. And when I was in the UK and I was a contractor, I remember that one particular man who gave me a lot of work, and I always dealt with him in my jeans and t-shirt. I was a worker and he was comfortable with that, even though I was the boss of the small contracting company that I had. Now one day I had, and I've mentioned this example before, it's real, true to life. I went at his request, could Terence call in at the office and see me? Now, I had another appointment, so I was dressed. I had a suit, tie, and because it was the UK, I had a smart top coat on. And when I walked in the office and he saw me, at first he didn't recognize me, and then his eyes widened a little. I don't mean he went, "Oh my God," but he looked again. He looked and looked again, because this wasn't what he was used to. And he was just a little bit off with me when we talked. I was out of his comfort zone for me. I wasn't where he liked me to be. And this happens. So when you start to move out of the image or status that other people are comfortable with you being in, they get upset. We found when we came here and we started our mission to help, and we went from being in jeans and t-shirts and simply dressed. We still dress simply, but people were used to us being a certain way. Now, other people got impressions about what we were like based on what we had done. So we were going to see some people sometimes, and they knew that we'd built 50 or 60 houses for the poor. And so when Beth went and started talking to them, they said, "Oh, you're Beth?" Because Beth, she will always be a simple, not simple here. She'll always be a simple person. She'll always be someone who is not interested in wearing really fancy clothes, even though I've encouraged her to do that, to dress a bit nicer for herself. But she will go out in slippers that are odd colors. You'll never change Beth. She'll always be ordinary, down-to-earth Beth. And when we started to cooperate and partner with the police, for instance, when we had organized a site when we organized with the PNP, they asked us to partner with us, or we asked them to partner with us. They would arrive there to help with the painting at the last moment, when all that had to be done to finish the house was just to give it a go to paint. And sometimes they were great. Taffy would send 10 officers in work clothes, and they would come and help us paint the house, and it would all be done in one day. It was no Da Vinci, I can tell you, but we did the job, and it was appropriate for the little house that it was in. But when they saw Beth, they did the same thing. "Oh, you're Beth? That's Terence. See, so sometimes when we're seeking to move up, even though it's only in our abilities and talents and our goals, you're going to upset people. Now, when people have made comments about putting our property on the market, for one thing, the videos that I made, right, they were too long to put in one, and so she split them into appropriate videos. And some people would comment after just seeing one part of the whole thing. So they'd be saying, well, the house, that's the house, isn't, and what's the big house? Well, I'd already said that it wasn't a big house, and I'd done a walkthrough, but they hadn't seen the video. But this is sometimes what happens, is that people stumble upon us when they're browsing, and then they see us, and then they might watch maybe one or maybe two videos, and they've already started commenting out of ignorance. Now, ignorance is not stupidity, ignorance is not knowing, and they would not know what our history was. And so this last batch of not knowers have been coming and saying things that were so incredibly personal and insulting, because they assume that we've done everything wrong. One man said, let's face it, Terence, we've been following you for some time, and your money handling is not up to much, is it? And it's only you got to listen to this one. It's only because subscribers sent you ballot buy-in boxes that you were able to survive. And yet he cites the fact that Beth saved. So he said, if it wasn't for Beth saving and you receiving ballot buy-in boxes, you would have been struggling. So if we were not doing very well, Beth wouldn't be saving anything. But at one time, when we first started our channel, we were increasing our subscribers by, at one time, 20,000. Now, last month we increased our subscribers by 100. So you can see things are different now. Now here's the rub. I would love to think that people just are magnetized to a channel that is helping poor people. So they see a heartbreaking story, and then they see the final, the completion, the house that's built, and there's no keys, of course. There's no keys to a Filipino house, and just giving them the house and their happy faces, children, and all of that. And we were doing that and thought that people would just love that. You know that we've actually built, I think it's 96 houses. We've built 96 houses. Somewhere among that, we've actually finished the Beth's family, what you could say is Beth's family church. We finished that. It was been extended, but it was just a shell. We moved in, and that was controversial, because we were just about to go to Hong Kong, as hard up as we were, and we were about to go to Hong Kong, and we said, the church has been unfinished for long enough. If it's not finished or started on when we come back, we'll finish it. And that's what we did. And we gave credit to the other person who did the work, that got the shell and that part of the roof on. But he never acknowledged that we gave that. But this is how people will be. This is where that expression of glass half, are you a glass half full or half empty kind of person? Well, the people that are a half empty kind, they're going to see the bad no matter what you do. So you really know no matter what you do. So 96 houses, 4 churches. We've built a dormitory for 30 students that were coming over from the island who were sleeping on the floor of a store because they were there from Monday to Friday, and then at the weekend they'd go home. We were asked if we could help by the orphanage, the Village of Hope orphanage. One of their members came and asked if we could help, and we took it over. This is where my incredible wife comes in. Because of the rapport that she has had with the supporters that we had back then, okay, when there was none of this COVID nonsense and the economy had not been taken into the toilet, and she was able to raise over 200,000 pesos, and we built the dormitory. Now, back then, we were able not just to take care of ourselves, we were able to do tons of things. We were able to take children to Tagbilaran to get them examined by a specialist. We were able to get Justine, who you may remember the videos about Justine. Justine had this beautiful girl, and she had a huge cyst on her face here, which was just a crime to see. And we worked with the Chuchi Foundation, which is a big Chinese foundation, and we managed to do a partnership with them. They paid most of the bills, but we paid the support and the travel expenses to Manila, and she got that thing taken off. We're still trying to raise the money for her to have plastic surgery, but when she went to Tagbilaran to have the cyst removed, but she had to go to Manila via the Chuchi Foundation to be seen by a specialist who deemed that it was not safe right at that time for her to have any plastic surgery. So we did that. We got kids into hospital. We have our little girl that lives just down the road. We call her Baby Jane. And Baby Jane has what you might call brittle bone disease, osteogenesis imperfecta, and she only has to stumble and fall, something that even I would get up from, and she breaks bones. I held that kid on three different occasions when I took her down to the hospital in Tagbilaran, and all of those experiences we have lived through in the time. And when we first started to help, we invited, that's why I say that we are, when you start to help, you get outside everybody's comfort zone. There's something about watching other people help each other that it stimulates all the worst kind of feeling for anybody who is underneath it a closet hater, and they oppose what you're doing. We were complained about, we were accused of, we were taken to court, we were investigated by the police, by the NBI. Pretty well everybody and their brother investigated us on the basis of, at that time, anonymous complaints. Now, in the Philippines at that time, if the DSWD received an anonymous complaint accusing you of walking around on rooftops with no underwear, they had to investigate it. They never said, how do you know that? Who are you? Where is your ID? Can you swear that you have seen this happen and you stand by your statement? No. Apparently they do that now. So if you go and make an anonymous complaint, now they want your ID and they want you to give a sworn statement. Oh boy, did that cut the complaints down. At one time, even at the DSWD, they called all of the complaints that they had about us, which were orchestrated by a woman who, with some legal training in Cebu, who had an army of haters who just loved to make trouble for people, and she orchestrated and instructed them how best to make the complaints. And DSWD were deluged every day with complaints about us. This is according to them. And in the end, even they began to think it was funny. And they called these complainers our avid fans. So these haters were our avid fans. So they complained about everything. And when the MBI interviewed us, we were subpoenaed to go there. We went to the MBI, and a very handsome agent who Beth thought was guapo, and he interviewed us. And on his desk, when he was interviewing us, there was a thick copies of all of our videos. And guess what our crime was? Our crime was that we had started to help people in dire poverty without filling in the forms. So much for, I guess, the crab mentality. So we went through a terrible time. At that time, we were living in the small house, and it was without windows, because we couldn't afford the windows at the time, but we were helping others. The money that we were raising was specifically for the cases that we showed. And we were there, and we were unable to get through all of the crap that kept on being generated. And we took one of the haters, one of the husband of the legal genius with her channel in Cebu, had said, all you need to do is get this form number, and he gave the number, and he threw it at us like an arrow, and we downloaded the form. We found it, we downloaded it, and we went into the DSWD in Talabon, and we showed them the form, and we'd filled it in. Very simple form, and it was only it was something like 200 or 400 pesos, and we put the 400 pesos on the desk, and they looked at it, and they'd never seen anything like it, so they didn't know what to do. Now here's the problem in the Philippines: if someone sees something and they don't know what to do about it, they'll say, oh yes, this has to be done in Timbuktu, in the Indian reservation, or whatever, as long as they cannot be caught later by something that they did wrong and be made answerable for it. So you can understand this, because a job is a very valuable thing here. So they didn't know what to do with it, and then someone looked at it and said, no, this is only for this was to get our permit for raising money. So you needed a permit to raise money so that you could help the poor. So there we are with the permit, and that's the government permit back then, and we took it. No, this is only for raising money in the Philippines. So apparently we didn't need money, we didn't need a permit to raise money outside of the Philippines. But then we were told, I actually asked the person, I asked the rep, I said, so are you telling me that if I went back to America and by chance I won $100 million and brought that back to the Philippines, I couldn't give that person over there a house if I wanted to with my own money? And he said, absolutely. So back to our handsome investigator, he said, I know that you are doing good. And he said, I'm sorry that things are taking so long. It took us 3 years to get our license for our register for the charity. And the only thing that we've heard from government departments lately, even though we're trying to get an application for a permit for raising money in the Philippines for Filipinos, and so far we're in our 4th year of applying. We apply, they send the application back with certain requirements, we fill those requirements, we send them back, they look at it, then they send it back with different requirements, and we do that and we send it back, and then finally we got everything right, but it took them so long to look at it that the dates were wrong. So they sent it back for the dates, and so it goes. So back to our original theme of don't get out of other people's comfort zone. Otherwise, if you do, you will be attacked. Now, when Beth and I put the house and the building that you can see behind me, right, which you may or may not know, that is the resort. That's the inn part of the resort where people, if they wanted to stay, they would stay there. Now, we were walking along a white beach hand in hand next to the blue ocean, clear water in Anda, and I happened to say, you know what if somebody came along and offered us, I said, 17 million pesos. Would we take it and buy a place here? We're passing a vacant lot on the beach, so we could buy that and build a house there, and every day we'd walk on the beach and you would go and swim in the ocean. You know that Beth is part mermaid, so we what ifed that for a little while, and I said, yeah, well, I would do it, and Beth said, well, so would I, but of course 2 minutes later she said, oh yeah, but I changed her mind. But when we got home, a little while after we arrived, she said, oh, by the way, I put the property on the sale on sale for 20 million. Well, then we had a load of inquiries and comments, both good, bad and ugly, and it was decided. Beth said, well, I've looked around, and somebody that we know has just sold a half-finished, well, not a half-finished house, an almost finished house that's not too far from us. And when we looked at what he had sold that for, just a house on a fairly small piece of land, we've got a lot of land here. Everything that you can see here, all of that right up to those houses up there, all of that you can see down to the coconuts, and there's a well down there, and the little bit of roof that you can see over there, our property goes down to that. We've got our nice house there with our back porch where I have my breakfast every day and do my workout. And then behind me, where is it? I can't actually see it myself. Yeah, but there it is. There's all the balconies there. And so Beth said, oh, well, I'll put it up to 30. A lot of people said, oh, you've got no chance of getting that. You know, well, maybe that's true, and maybe it's not. Personally, I love to sit out on my balcony there. I love to do my workout there. I love to have my breakfast there and watch the world go by. There are no chemtrails in this sky, folks. There's no... Can you hear an aeroplane? No aeroplanes. Not even an aeroplane. Not even a small aircraft. Not even a helicopter. Not even a police, or I don't think the police have any helicopters. No, there's no sirens. All that we had just before we came on was the chickens going on. doing their cock-a-doodle-doo. Wrong time of the day, but that's it. So I'm telling the truth when I say that I'm fine about living here. And then if it's sold at the price that we want, then we'll move on. All that we have to do at the moment is to build Nanai a house, because we've got two other properties for sale. So much for my mishandling of money. In 10 years, I wonder what some of our critics have managed to achieve. So our advice is, don't get out of other people's comfort zone. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. It does help us if you like. It does, even just liking, it does help. It's fun when you comment, as long as you don't act like a jerk. And if you take subscription, that's good. It doesn't cost you anything, and you'll be notified when we make new videos. So do that for us. We love you. Thank you, and bye.